probably be your last topic. It's on finance. I also teach Year 11 and Year 12 maths, so I know where this is heading. Okay? So straight up, you're skipping exercise 14D.2 on the timeline because you do not need to know the formula. You don't even use it in Year 11 and Year 12. They make you aware of it, but the reason for that is the formula looks like this. FV equals PV times by 1 plus I over K, Km. Doing that by hand is ridiculous. And also, what we do in Year 11 and Year 12 is as soon as I teach you how to do it via the calculator, you don't need to use the formula anyway. So what's the point in doing the formula? I'll show you how to use the calculator. Can you quickly take a seat? So, the first thing that you need to do, so that everyone's on the same page, this is the preferred one. Can you please open this link to Sage Calc? When you open that, it should lead to a screen that looks like this. And can you please follow the instructions that that page gives you to access the graphics calculator? So it tells you, can you press this link here and let it load? You press start twice. And then when it's loaded, you press this calculator in the middle. See how it says TI-84, graphing calculator? I would highly suggest that for the rest of this term, while this website is working, the test's in there. You've got 50 minutes, 51 minutes. This is the calculator that SACE requires you to use in Year 12. We found a website that lets you access it for free, so you don't need to pay to use it. You might as well practice using it now, okay? When you're doing the test on this, you'll have access to this. I'll patrol around, you open anything else, that's done. But you guys are you've established that you're pretty trustworthy. You don't stuff around, okay? So I would like that everyone tries to use this as their calculator now, okay? There is a backup. If that website is taken down, there's a backup link. So you'll see I've got a secondary link here, financial calculators, but we're going to use this one for now because it's the most like what the Year 12s use. All right, so the notes will start. How do I access my finance stuff on the graphics calculator? Can you see a button on here that says apps? Can you press the apps button, please, so you can follow along? Apps. Can you see a menu item that says finance there? Can you press enter on that? Can you see an option in the menu that says TVM Solver? Does anyone have a parent or something that is an accountant? They're probably familiar with this. TVM stands for time value of money, okay? As soon as your question says compound interest, use this. If it says flat or simple interest rate, the formula was SI equals PRT, all right? It's a multiplication. As soon as it says compound interest, you're not using that crazy formula I gave you, you are using this. It's going to be hard going to start off with, but it's like all new apps. When you use a new app on a device, you have to get used to it a little bit. But when you get used to it, it should make your test coming up trivial because it handles it for you. So can you press enter on TVM Solver? All right. So just to repeat, if you don't need to note that down, that's fine, but I gave you instructions on how do you access TVM Solver. You press apps, you press enter on finance, TVM Solver, okay? This is really where you need to get the notes because this is the hard going. When you see TVM Solver, do you see a screen that says NIPV, etc.? Can you see that on the right? Yes. You need to know what those mean, okay? N is the total number of payments you made overall. I is the interest rate as a percentage. PV is the principal or present value. PMT is the payments each period. FV is the final or future value. This is the principal and interest combined. PY is the number of payments per year. CY is the number of compounding periods per year. Can you just get this block down? Right now, hopefully you trust me enough when I say that right now it's not going to make sense until we do an example. I think I built enough trust in that because your class used to start off half of you would fail the test. Now only a few did. Because you're capable. Just get this block down. I'll talk to you about this section here. But it all comes together when you do an example. Our example will be Kanye today.
Or above. I just need the blue doesn't down. Okay? And so we get through those by the end of the term. Okay? So you've done a bit of bringing it up and finish it off.
After the video is recorded, a lot of you I notice are working, a larger percentage that I've noticed in year 10. What you'll notice here is PY and CY in high school in South Australia stay the same. Someone decided in SACE that they would stay the same, but that's not realistic if you're living a life. So I'd like to, if I teach you this TVM solver for the people that are working, show you how to use it in a more realistic way. So you can see how your money works rather than just making this weird requirement that they stay the same. So this big chunk is important because it explains how to use TVM solver. Just as an addition to this PY note, the number of payments per year, it'd be nice to do an example. If you're making monthly payments, how many times would that be happening in a year? Good. Okay, so there's some thinking involved in this. Monthly would be 12. What about weekly? What if you're making weekly payments? How many? Good. Okay, so you get the idea. If the question said you're making weekly payments, then your PY and CY would be 52. So there is a little thinking there. This last little bit here, or just double check that end is highlighted. In your high school career in South Australia, we always keep it on end. You know, if you're just finishing this off, listen in to this part. So the way this app works, right? Can you see it's asking you for this info? Do we have a question right now? So we don't have the info. But the way that this app works is you enter all the known info into the correct variables, and then you ask the calculator to work out the leftover one, okay? But we have to be careful for the calculator to understand PV, so these three here, those three are either positive or negative based on where the money's moving, okay? So if you are putting money into the bank, then the sign for PV, PMT, FV is going to be negative. So I literally have my year 12s this year on their cheat sheet. They draw a little stick figure with a dollar sign moving away from it, and then they say negative. If the money is coming out of your pocket, going into the bank, it comes up as negative in the calculator for it to understand. If the money is coming to you, so like you've made your investment and the bank's paying it out to you at the end, it's positive instead, okay? So I don't know if you want to do the stick figures, that's fine. but because I typed the notes up onto this Apple note, I had to type it out, okay? So just be aware, PV, PMT, FV, it's negative if it's going away from you, it's positive if it's coming back. And please note, to make it negative on this calculator, you don't press the take sign. If you scroll that, can you see a negative sign in brackets? For the calculator to understand what you're talking about, you have to make it negative with this button here, okay? But like I said, it will be clearer when we do an example, okay? So the way that this app works is once all the variables are entered, select the variable you're trying to find, and then you press, can you see on the calculator, on top of the enter button, is there green, solve? Does it say solve in green there? So what you do is once you've entered all the info that you know in the question, you highlight using the arrows the thing that you want to find out. It's often FV. And then you press alpha, the green button, to get the green functions. And you press enter to get it to solve. Okay? So that's second to last note for today, other than the examples, is just to show you how to solve things. So just get that little bit in pink. And also, the working out for this, the working out that you show for these questions, if you're using TVM Solver, you write out n equals. You tell me what you put into the calculator. And then you put an arrow next to the variable that you solved for. Please don't make the mistake. I had one of the Ignites take this test before. They didn't show any working, so all they gave me was the answer and it was wrong. So if all you've shown me is the answer and it's wrong, can I give you any credit for that? But if that particular person got the wrong answer but showed they entered some of these correctly, can I at least give you some credit for that? Okay, please. Show what you entered when you're using TVM Solver. Okay, last formula before we do the examples. I'm really thankful how well you're able to concentrate. The formula to chuck onto your cheat sheet and to practice using today. If you want to work out the interest on this investment, can you please note, TVM Solver only tells you FV, what your money grew to. It also tells you what it started at and any regular payments. This formula here for simple interest, that tells you how much interest you pay. This calculator doesn't tell you how much interest you pay. Okay? So you need a formula to work out how much interest you made on the investment. So that formula is, the interest on investment is what it grew to, FV, take away any payments that you made into the bank. Get that down so we can hammer the example. And I can sort of ease your worries. Your faces are getting a little worried now. There's so much detail and info. These questions must be impossible. No. When you see how TVM Solver works and you see what a question looks like, it's not too bad. Now let's try one out. If you didn't quite get all of the info down, there'll be a video up. Let's look at this. Kanye invests $23,000 into an account, paying 3.45% per annum, compounding quarterly. We want to work out how much is going to be in the account if he leaves it alone for 6 years. So how do I use this app? I need to tell the calculator all of the info that we know. So I encourage you, start off with the interest rate. What's the interest rate of Kanye's account in that example there? 3.45. So unlike this one, where I have to convert it to a percentage, I just put it in. 3 3.45. I don't need to convert or anything. I don't need to make a 0.0345. It's straight up 3.45. What's Kanye doing? He's putting what into the account? So that's money he has now, and he's putting it in the bank to start off with. So what sign will that be? Negative. So PV, the starting amount that he chucks in the bank is going to be negative 23,000. Because it went from him, it's gone into the bank, and he's letting it sit for 6 years. Does it say anything about Kanye making regular payments into there? All he's done is put 23,000 in the bank and left it alone for 6 years. So now we need to work out, so PMT is going to be 0. We need to work out what PY and CY are going to be, because they're the same in high school in South Australia. Which part of this question tells me what PY and CY are going to be? Quarterly. How many quarters are there in a year? 4. Please notice that when I enter 4 into PY and press enter, I'm not going to press anything else. When I press enter, see how the calculator automatically made them the same? So even the calculator wants them to be the same. They don't have to be. In your real life, they don't have to be. But for high school, they will be the same. The last thing I need to work out is N. Okay? It's the total number of periods. So 6 years, but there's 4 periods in each year. How many periods would that be in total? Sorry? I heard someone say it. 24. How did you get that? 6 lots of 4. There's a life hack here. The calculator allows you to do maths in the top. So if you wanted to do that 6 times by 4, see I'm doing maths in the top. When I press enter, it works it out to be 24. So I have everything that I want. Have I said that this is going to go for 6 years? Yes, 24 periods, 4 periods a year, 6 years. Have I told it the interest rate? Have I said how much Kanye is putting in to start off with? Why is PMT 0? Because Kanye is not making any regular payments. He's just chucking a chunk of money in and leaving it alone. Have I told it how often it's compounding? 4 and 4. So the last thing I do, highlight the thing that I want to find. And do you remember what I press to get it to solve? Alpha, enter. So that's telling me, so I need to demonstrate how to show proper working. So the way that you would show your working is type out exactly what you, write out what you put in, 3.45, PV, negative 23 grand, PMT, no payments. Put a star next to FV because that's what I solved for. So it looks like he gets $28,264.50 to 2 decimal points. PY is 4. CY is also 4. So have we answered A? Have we found how much is going to be in the account after 6 years? Your hand up.
So that's how much he gets given?
Yes. What?
Like, wait.
He put 23 grand in. That's why it's negative. Why is it positive? Because at the end of 6 years, bank's going to give him that 28 grand.
Like the 28 grand, is that how much he got as interest, or is that?
No, that's just what's going to be in your bank account after. So that's not the interest. That's why you've got this formula here to work out how much interest he earned. Because that looks spectacular, but he got paid by the bank $28,264.50. How much do you have to put in the first place?
23.
See, so the difference between those is the interest. That's what part B is for anyway. So let me cook. I'll do B. You have this formula, interest for an investment equals, what is FV for Kanye? It's 28. $264.50 minus PV. What did he start off with? 23,000 plus PMT. The payments were 0 times by 24. So that's just going to be. So if you want to keep using the graphics calculator, can you see how there's a blue quit over this button here? So if I press second mode, that just goes straight to the normal calculator. Yeah? So I can do separate maths here. So I can go $2,8,264.50. Take away, you can use brackets. This is an advanced calculator. 23,000 plus 0 times by 24. So what does that tell me? Kanye only actually earns $5,264.50 of interest in 6 years. So yeah, it cost a lot to do that. Is that better than earning nothing? If you if you put your money under the bed, it's not going to earn any interest, okay? And this is actually slightly unrealistic because I looked at the Bank SA website, their interest rates are like over 5%. So this is a little low, okay? What's the problem with this? You're losing access to $23,000 for 6 years, but at least it's growing, okay? That's the first example. I'd like to give a second example, and then I'll finally shut my mouth. If you do have the example, have a think about how we would solve this one. We're trying to work out how long Kanye would need to put away 15 grand to make it grow up to $20,000. What would I put into TVM Solver to answer that question? So what you'll notice is that when you start getting the hang of this way of working out, you'll straight away put in the TVM Solver variables. So this question was asking how much does it grow to? We knew how long it was going to take. Is this question asking you how much it grows to? Or is it asking you how long is it going to take to grow to a certain, how long? Which of these things is the closest to telling you how long it's going to take? These are how many times something happens per year. This is how many periods it was in total. So which of these numbers really told us it was 6 years? The 24. So this one we're solving for n. We need to put in everything that we don't know. What's the interest rate for his investment this time? Good. So that's what I chuck into the calculator. What does it say Kanye's going to put in at the start? 15,000. What sign is it going to be? Because it's coming from him going into the bank. Good. Negative 15,000. Does it say anything about Kanye making regular payments into the account? No. He just says he's putting 15 grand in there, letting it grow. So PMT is going to be 0. Does the question tell you how much we want it to grow up to? What number is that? 20,000. What sign would that be? Would it be positive or negative? Positive why? Because that's what the bank's going to give you after the time, so 20 grand. So the last decision we need to make is, what's PY and CY? If something's happening half yearly, every half year, how many half years are there in a year? 2. So your PY and CY are both going to be 2. So I'll go into my TVM Solver now. Can someone remind me, how do I access TVM Solver on the calculator? What do I press? Apps, select, finance, select TVM Solver. So I'll leave 24 alone. I need to change this to 3.8. He invested 15,000 in the bank. That's why it's negative. It went from his pocket into the bank. He's not making any payments. We want it to grow up to 20 grand. So it's positive 20,000. Half yearly means PY and CY both need to be 2. So if I go alpha, enter, that is telling me it's 15.28 half years. Which is not exactly the answer that I want to get. because the question asks for how long in years and months. Right now, you'll get part marks for this. I've got 15.28 half years. I want my answer to be in years and months. What could I do with this number to work out how many years it would be? Divided by something. 2. Good. So if you wanted to work out how many years that is, you'd go 15.28 divided by 2 is going to tell you 15.28 divided by 2 is 7.64 years. Is that in years and months yet? We've got 7 years and a fraction of a year, 0.64. What could I do with a 0.64 to tell me how many months that is? Divide by 12? Why is it times by 12? That's okay. Imagine if it was 0.5, right? 0.5 times by 12 would give you 6. That's going to tell you 6 months. So it's times, all right? 0.64 times by 12 is going to be, oh, it's auto-correcting everything. 0.64 times 12. Well, that's 8 months as well. 7.68, 8 months. So overall, 7 years and 8 months. That's using TVM Solver. Apps, Finance, TVM Solver.